All right, awesome. So last week, the ArcGIS API for JavaScript 4.19 was released. So I just kind of want to go over that release, some of the stuff that's in there, some of the new things that are in there, some of the updates and whatnot. So of course, where am I going to start but the release notes, right? So one of the big things, one of the things I'm real happy about, because I was really looking forward to this, is the fact that the ES modules of the API are out of beta. I know that's been a question a lot of people have been asking. We released them in beta because we hadn't released ES modules before, so we wanted people to try it out. But I know, and we've gotten feedback that some people couldn't, for whatever reasons, the projects use a beta product, right? So they're out of beta. Go ahead and use them in production, right? Try them out. Go ahead and ask questions, file issues, or anything you might come across with them. And I do want to note, because it does come up too, the functionality between the ES modules and the AMD release of the API that you get on the CDN and everything, exactly the same. Feature-wise, there is no difference, right? It's just how you're going to consume the API and build your apps, depending on what you're doing. And I've done numerous videos on building apps with ES modules, blog posts, and so on. Please feel free to go check those out, because I'm not going to go over all that stuff in too much detail anymore. When I start doing things, I'm just going to kind of dive in and start showing how to build apps to do certain things. I'm not going to cover too much build stuff anymore unless something cool really comes across my way. Like if I can get WMR working for whatever reason, right? One of the big changes that we made between the beta release and the actual full-blown release is the fact that the assets that you do for local builds, you no longer have to copy those assets when you do your build. By default, we're going to load the assets from the CDN, and all those assets are going to be style files, fonts, JSON for internationalization, so different language files, images, and workers, right? So the workers are not getting loaded from the CDN, so it makes it much easier for you to build your apps. Now, if you still want to copy those assets locally for your builds, because you might be like in a sandboxed environment, you can't access outside networks, you can still go ahead and copy them yourself and use this. We talk about that here. You can set the config assets path. You can still go ahead and do a copy of the assets during the build process, and you're good to go. Don't worry about it, right? That stuff will all still work just fine, so enjoy, right? We just try to make the initial setup process way easier for you to do. So performance improvements, right? So this one's really cool. I thought this was a GIF. Is it a GIF, or is it just really slow? I don't think it's a GIF. But basically, we can go ahead and load the data much quicker, right? As you can see from the description here, how we fetch the data and stuff. So yeah, I thought this was a GIF. What's going on here? Maybe my browser's jacking it up, right? We'll look at a GIF in a second. Editing updates, right? So snapping, man. You know how many people have been asking me for snapping in the API for the longest time? It's been worked on, and it only took this long to get it as part of the editing workflow, right? Because when we started editing in the API anyway, we always said that we were starting from the ground up and building gradual, right? So it was coming out, like all the improvements and stuff are happening in gradual releases. Snapping was part of that. So we didn't just want to throw snapping in kind of like a checklist item to get done kind of a thing, right? We wanted to actually put some work into it, think about it, and how users are going to use it. So that's what we've done, right? So there's all different ways you can use snapping. You see the parallel lines, which this is really cool. I really dig this whole parallel lines thing. I think that's nice. Extensions of lines, vertex, and stuff like that. That's definitely going to be kind of stuff that'll come in useful. Feature snapping in 2D and 3D, right? So you can snap to features in 3D. That's a pretty cool GIF. Look at that. Oh man, that is nice. I dig that. I can even extrude it. I can grab like a corner and start doing stuff. Oh, damn, that's cool. I dig that. All right. Editor widget has some improvements with the snapping and everything like that, and added into there. API keys. This is another big thing. This is pretty much like platform wide in terms of API keys, but we've added, we've gone through and started integrating them a little bit more fine-grained control for them. So basically, you can set like a global API key for your app, and we're just going to use that API key wherever it's needed to do things, right? But if you have an API key for routing, for example, you can provide an API key for the directions widget, and that widget will use the API key for your routing, and so on and so forth, right? So that you can get a little bit more control there if you want to. And I think that's more of an advanced use case for users. I imagine, in my simple mind, that most users are just going to go ahead, provide a global API key, and they're good to go. But I know that's not how everyone's going to do it. So there's stuff in there. Look at this 3D update. So I dig this one. Shadow highlight, right? So now when you can highlight something, you highlight the shadow of that feature. That's fucking cool. Come on. I'm sorry. I try not to swear so damn much in my videos, but you know how that goes. That's cool. So, all right. Line polygon transformations. This is neat. Yeah, that's a new building over at Esri building in the Redlands right there. It's actually done now. I think it's all done. It looks cool. But yeah, look at that. That's nice. Improve rendering quality in 3D. That's a big difference from 418 to 419. I did not know. Well, I guess I never noticed like these lines that right here. I just didn't think that they were. I never noticed that they should have been there. But yeah, that's cool. I dig it. This magnifier is really cool. So magnifier went through a few different iterations in terms of how this like UI and stuff is going to look. But when you're doing stuff like sketching and editing, it's really useful to kind of, instead of like pausing your workflow, zooming in, doing your edit, and then zooming back out to get back to like your like area that you might be working on or something like that, you can go ahead and just enable the magnifier, turn that on, and that's nice. I really think people are going to dig that. We haven't hyped it too much. I don't think it's a big hyped kind of feature in there, but it's pretty cool to do, right? Floor awareness, this stuff's kind of cool. I don't mess with this stuff too much. I haven't used this floor filter, but I know that it's had a lot of requests and stuff like that, so I still think it's a cool feature. And I saw the demos for it. I thought it was really nice the way that works and everything. That's pretty cool. Feature table updates and stuff like that, right? So there's some more feature table functionality in here. So it supports filter geometry property and stuff to kind of filter these features in here, right? So as you're zooming in, it's kind of this. I think that's what this GIF does here. So I zoom in, it's only going to show me the features that are actually in the screen, right? So you can do kind of cool stuff like that. Theming, pop-up improvements, and so on and so forth. Promises. What's all this? What's going on here? I didn't read this part. All widgets now support the following methods. When is result? Oh, okay, cool. That's neat. I dig that. Layer updates. Look at this map notes layer. How many people have used map notes in the map viewer before to do like quick and dirty kind of like just you circle something on the map and you label it and stuff like that, and like I'm gonna do some work here. And it's kind of cool for doing kind of like redlining kind of stuff in your apps. And I remember using this before quite a bit, but they're not feature layers, right? They're not smart in any way. They're just kind of like some graphics on the map, kind of map notes in there, but it's kind of cool to have. So having map notes layer available for you to use in the API is kind of cool. I dig that. That's kind of a fun one, right? OGC feature layer spatial references. So I did not know that this was like a cool thing. So previously only WGS84 was supported. Now all OGC feature layers will work in WGS84 and Webpack along with any other spatial reference provided by the service. So okay, full spatial reference support in the OGC feature layer. So if you haven't used OGC feature layer, you probably don't need it, but people that need it definitely are going to enjoy this, right? So check it out. Group layer support, vector tile layer, browser cluster features, and so on and so forth. This is cool. So okay, so I'll come back to the data visualization guide in a second. We've got some smart mapping updates, right? Identity manager update. So yeah, we have a couple. So yeah, we kind of updated kind of the way the identity manager is going to communicate with the like redirect page and stuff like that you do. So yeah, that's kind of cool. REST modules. I mean, there's some genius help work on these, right? But anyway, these are basically porting over the functionality of the task, like the query task, geometry service task, into simpler functions that you can use. So you don't have to instantiate an entire class to do stuff. You just provide it the same parameters you normally would provide a task, call a function with the URL, and get your result back, right? Almost everything is done except for print task, right? So print task will be done in the next release. And we're going to keep the task around for a release or so. And and then they will eventually get deprecated in favor of just using these like functional REST modules that you can use, right? So that's kind of cool. So there's a whole list here of deprecated stuff. All right, we're not going to go into that. I want to come back to this data visualization guide, because I think this is really, really cool for developers, right? So I don't know about you, and people have heard me say this plenty of times before, is the fact that I'm a decent dev, I'm a horrible cartographer, right? I could make decent looking maps if I need to. I've got the Cartographer's Toolkit book to help me pick colors out and stuff like that. Smart mapping is a lifesaver for me to create some color ramps and renderers and everything else like that. So I just kind of fake it till I make it, right? I'm still trying to make it. But this Styles and Data Visualization Guide is a pretty cool way to kind of walk you through the different kind of ways that you could apply data viz to your applications with the JavaScript API, right? So you've got location style, data driven styles. So location is basically simple renderers, right? Just points, lines, polygons, some coloring, stuff like that. Data driven styles. So I think this is where people are really gonna dig stuff at, right? So you've got the ability to go ahead and take the data from the map, use that data to apply colors and scale and whatnot, and size, not scale, sorry, but like the size and color to your visualization, and even use arcade expressions, right? So it covers more about arcade stuff in here too. And arcade is just pure black magic. I'm telling you right now, it does some pretty cool things, and I'm still just blown away a lot of times when someone shows me like a cool script that does something either with the visualization or pop-up or something like that. It's just nuts, right? So this guide's going to walk you through all these different things you can do. So we'll just kind of pick out like dot density in here. So it's talk about the style, give some examples of it, right? And then kind of show the code sample, talk about the different ways, like density by category. That's a lot of samples, man. Look at this. Wow. And some best practices. And I think this is pretty cool. The best practices part, because a lot of times in sessions, this kind of stuff comes up, right? We'll talk about the renderers and the different things you can do with smart mapping. Then the question always comes up, well, should I do this or should I do that? Or how can I avoid running into issues somewhere down the line with some of these smart mapping capabilities and the renderers and stuff like that. So now there's a set of best practices that you could refer to follow, especially when it comes to things like this reference scale, the min scale, max scale. Min scale, max scale can really jack up the, not just in terms of like, the data that you see, but the amount of data that we're pulling in. Because if your feature layer was authored in a way that the data only shows up at a certain scale, it's probably authored that way for a reason, because anything greater than that scale, you're probably going to pull in like hundreds of thousands of features, maybe even a million or so features and stuff like that. And yes, the API can show a hell of a lot of data, but come on, give us a break, man. You're trying to display a million points on the map. We'll get there. We can show it to you. It's probably going to take a while to load. Polygons, come on, let's get real. Polygons, a million polygons on your map. How many vertices are going to be in a million polygons? That's ridiculous. Don't at me. So yeah, it's got all these best practices and stuff in there. Man, I did not know I had all that stuff. So techniques and best practices. Okay, that's a good one. So it's got some different for arcade-driven visualizations, scale-aware visualizations, choosing a color ramp, class break versus continuous color. I'll be honest with you, whenever these questions come up with me, I go ahead and ping like Christian Ekenis or Jim Harries or some of these guys to kind of give me a little hint as to how this data might look pretty cool. So I've got some people I can contact for this stuff, but I should reference this stuff a bit more and kind of get better at this thing. This, if anything, is a weakness for me in the JavaScript API, it's going to be the smart mapping, data viz kind of stuff. It's just not my strong suit. I can do some ridiculous and stupid things with it. I'm not sure I could do anything very useful, but it's cool. I don't mind. I can still do things and get by. Like I said, fake it till you make it, people. Someday you're going to make it. So yeah, this whole data visualization guide is just really, really cool. I dig that. So what are some other things with this release that are out that I think are cool? So there's some stuff in the blog. I think the blog has some good notes. And what's this? John Nelson damn, that guy just puts a blog up like every other day. I swear to God. Okay, so I just put this one out here. This one, I guess it's just going to go and open it. All right, I didn't mean to click it. But anyway, I put this blog up about the how the JavaScript API just works now with ES modules and everything like that. There's no more need to do all these weird Webpack configurations, any kind of weird mapping of modules or aliases or packages and stuff like that. It'll just work all the way down the board, and I pretty much go into show a couple examples of stuff like this. The best part is if you're using stuff like Snowpack or Vite, realistically, Snowpack needs a config file just for the build part, right? Just one line, tell it to use the Snowpack Webpack plugin. I think what it is now, because the Snowpack build, as last I checked, isn't quite ready yet, so you want to use the Webpack plugin one. That's all you need for Snowpack. Vite, you don't even need a config. You just install Vite and have it run it as a build, and you're good to go. Right? Let's come down here some more. There's been so much stuff. There we go. So much stuff happens that people are pushing blogs out all the time, and sometimes you don't. I get lost in terms of where our blogs are every now and then. So Julie put up a pretty good post talking pretty much about everything I was just talking about here. Oh, look at this. Here's a GIF I was looking for. Look at that. So between 418 and 419 to draw that data, and those are points, right? That's not a polygon fill or anything. Those are points right there. Let's zoom in on that. Look at that. Oh, this 418 trying to draw it all, 419 drawing it. That is just cool. This is the kind of thing that your app, when it would have to draw that much data, you might put like a little loading GIF of some sort, or an icon, maybe even kind of hide the map until it was ready to go, kind of thing. But now, I mean, it's just a big improvement, which is really, really cool. Okay, so I guess the GIF stops. It doesn't repeat. Okay, let me refresh that and see if I can get it to repeat. No, it's not. I broke my machine. So these are pretty much everything that I just talked about that was in the release notes are in here with a little bit more detail that Julie talks about and stuff, which is pretty cool. The some stuff on JS API resources has been updated. The ESM samples have been updated for 419. We took out all the stuff about copying assets and everything like that. That's no longer in the samples. However, I think in the individual readmes, we do talk about how you can go and copy them if you wanted to. Well, okay, I guess we don't. I thought we did. But yeah, okay. So it's there somewhere in about the copying the assets somewhere. So we've got samples for Angular, create React app. Angular, please use the latest version of Angular, because the previous versions of Angular used an old version of Zone.js, which does not have a proper promise built into it, and it overrides the global promise in the browser. So if you run into issues and you're building Angular apps and you're getting some weird promise errors, it's probably Zone.js. Update your version of Angular, please, because we get these questions all the time, and it's not our fault. Blame Angular. Angular is great. It's a great framework and everything like that, but that Zone.js from the previous versions did not implement all of the promised features and stuff, right? So we've got samples for Create React App. We have samples for Ember. We have a sample for the ESM, CDN, Node, Vue CLI, Rollup, and Webpack. We do not have samples here for Snowpack or Vite. I might add a Snowpack sample. I think I've been going back and forth on whether I should do it or not. I will probably not add a Vite sample, because like I said before, Vite does not require a config. So what the hell am I going to show you? It's just an app. Just build it. I'm good. You're good to go, man. Don't hassle me about it, right? So yeah, these have been updated. Let me talk about a couple of these other things, right? So the ArcGIS CLI, right? So the ArcGIS CLI was also updated. Don't worry about this failing build. Something's wrong with Travis and Jest in here. I don't know what's going on. I got to figure that out at some point. But the templates have been updated so that we've only got the a Rollup and a Webpack app for the templates now, right? So that kind of simplifies things a bit more. I need to go over the CLI stuff again. I think I showed this a couple weeks ago, I want to say, but I want to kind of mess with doing the custom themes, the style command that's been added to the CLI. It's pretty cool because it kind of sets you up to do some really cool custom themes if you want to. The Webpack plugin. What am I doing? Not 23. So the Webpack plugin was updated as well. And this is now, you don't need it. I would recommend you don't even bother using it unless you need to copy the assets locally for your Webpack applications, right? Because that's what it's pretty much going to do. It's going to copy the assets for you, and that way you don't have to set that up and everything inside your Webpack config. That's really the main point or main feature it has nowadays, right? If you need the older version, you can go ahead and look at the old doc with links to it over here. The other cool thing you can do is this features and user-defined excludes, right? So really, and the features really only right now will remove some of the 3D modules from the build if you're not using 3D. But user-defined excludes could be a bit more useful for some more advanced use cases where maybe you know for a fact your application is never going to use a certain set of modules in the API, right? Like, you know for sure you're never going to use them. You can go ahead and add them to this user-defined excludes, kind of like this, and it'll go ahead and use the null loader Webpack plugin to just return an empty file. So it'll be a smaller file size in the bundles. It honestly doesn't save a whole lot, depending on what you're doing, right? Like, if you know for a fact you're not going to be using certain widgets, that might be something to put in here and stuff like that. But I do say try it out if you need it. Be careful, because it could definitely break your app at runtime, and you won't even know until runtime that it's going to break, because yeah, it's just they're empty files, right? The Webpack build thinks they're there, but it's just an empty module. So that's like the only cool thing here with that. I think, honestly, that's pretty much it for 4.19. I'm probably missing something, and I just can't remember what at this point. But yeah, check out the doc. Check out these data viz guides. I'm really digging these. We've updated some of the this whole doc on the side here, like the core concepts, a little easier now. The building UI, which is really cool. I think this pretty much just ported over, but we've kind of organized things over on the side here a little bit better. Tutorials still works really well. I suggest you go through tutorials to kind of get if you're new to the API, get a feel for kind of how some things work. Some of those popular things people do with the API when it first comes up, things, force display a map, display pop-up or a scene, but things like let's see what's good here. Reverse geocoding. Anything that has to do with geocoding or address searching is probably a super popular thing that first-time users do when they come into the API. So I highly recommend check that out. Just kind of get your feet wet with how that's going to work. Then you can do style layer and like work with like SQL queries in the feature layer and everything like that. But yeah, try it out, have some fun. If there's anything you ever want me to cover in these live videos, and I'm digging doing the YouTube live videos because editing is kind of a pain in the ass. I'll make some more videos where I do edits and stuff like that, some more kind of walkthrough tutorial kind of videos later on. But the live are fun because I can knock them out and everything like that. And plus, if anyone's got questions that they want me to answer in another live video, please go ahead and comment on this video below. Let me know what you want covered, or if you have topics you want me to cover or anything like that. I shouldn't forget either, and then people tell me this, make sure that you like and subscribe as well, because that just goes ahead and helps the whole YouTube algorithm hack and everything like that. So like every YouTuber, like and subscribe, you know what to do. But yeah, thanks a lot. I'll see you guys next time. Appreciate it.